All right, so hello and thank you for joining us. Today we've got some very special guests with us. I'll let them introduce themselves, but I'm just so excited to be here talking at Ignite with data and AI platform experts that we have at Microsoft. So Eric, can I let you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Eric Boyd, and I lead the AI platform team here at Microsoft.
Rohan?
Hi, my name is Rohan Kumar, and I lead the Azure data team here at Microsoft.
And I'm Cathrine Wilhelmsen. I'm also a community reporter here at Microsoft Ignite.
And my name is Jen Stirrup. I'm a data platform MVP and also obsessed with all things data. So all of the news from Microsoft has made me so happy. There's so much of it. I'm trying to distill it down to the headlines. There's so many exciting things, but I wondered, Eric, if you don't mind sort of telling us from the AI perspective what you see as the big news for everyone out there who wants to get started with AI.
Sure. We've been doing a lot with AI in the last couple of years, and really excited at Ignite to be announcing a few things around our Azure machine learning platform. One of the things I'm most excited about is a new capability we're talking about called automated machine learning. And this is a capability that makes it really easy for people, data scientists or even non-data scientists, to take a data set and predict something. Scott showed an example yesterday in his keynote about what's the price of this car and showed all the work a data scientist would have to do. And we've really cut almost all of that out, so you can really just, here's a data set, now tell me how you can predict prices of cars with that. It really should be very powerful and really improve the productivity of data scientists across the board.
Yeah, I love the idea that it's almost AI as a service in Azure. People can just go and really productionize what they're doing and really use it. Everyone's got data, but it's just getting started with it that I think is the big thing. And I think people should just make the jump, dive in there, get started. That's what I do anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what about yourself, Eric? What's the big news for you?
Well, I mean, on the data side, let me sort of just boil it down. In terms of like the big announcements, of course, we announced the preview of SQL Server 2019. It's a pretty big deal, and the big step forward towards sort of integrating the big data management inside of SQL Server, so with the support of Apache Spark and HDFS natively. So that was a big one. On the cloud side, on the Azure side, we made the general purpose support for managed instance. That was made generally available. I mean, I know our customers have been waiting for that for a very long time, so it's super excited about that. We released MariaDB in private preview, and that's sort of showcasing our continued commitment to open source over there. On the Cosmos DB side, of course, the big announcement was supporting Cassandra, that GA, and supporting multi-master, which is a very unique capability that got added in Cosmos DB. And one thing I forgot to sort of mention is on SQLDB, we sort of introduced this preview for hyperscale, which is where now upwards of hundreds of terabytes of databases can now be supported. It's a foundational change that we made, and the same thing with multi-master and Cosmos DB. It's a very foundational change that the team had been working on for several years. And it's finally on the analytics side, the big announcement was the new service we launched called Azure Data Explorer. I mean, this was a service that we've used internally for a very, very long time. A lot of Microsoft services, Azure, Xbox, Office, Windows, etc., rely on it for our own internal telemetry and DevOps. And it's sort of a very unique need that was being addressed. And then again, lots of work that's happened with integrating ADF and Databricks and DW. HDI came out with a lot of enterprise security features. Hadoop 3.0 got released. And there's a lot of work that happened on the developer ecosystem, debugging things with HDI. So all in all, huge thing. And yeah, Databricks announced Delta as a preview release. So I mean, there's tons of information coming out on the data side. But yeah, I'm excited.
So a lot of exciting announcements, both on the AI side and the data side. Can you talk us a little bit through how do you work on that in Microsoft with the whole data plus AI story? How does it work together? Just tell us a little bit about it in the Microsoft world.
Do you want me to start and then?
Sure,
Okay.
that makes sense.
So I mean, first of all, I think there's an interesting thing, right? We always we sort of very strongly believe that like having a strong or a foundation in terms of your data platform is very important. To get to, of course, there's a lot of value that's going to come out of infusing AI and a lot of the work that Eric's team is doing. But we sort of agreed that like having a very strong foundation for a modern data estate is like the first step. right? You have to sort of have, break down the data silos that exist in the enterprises. We joke about this, right? There's, you have to sort of, get the data into a place which is a lot more modern from a foundation standpoint, which allows you to run these compute engines to prepare, etc., in a way that then, which you can sort of, infuse AI over, if you will. But that's really, like, in terms of working together, that's what I believe, which is, build a great foundation for data. Then a lot of the investments that Eric's team is building essentially just natively integrate into what we're building. So collectively, that becomes the platform for the future.
Yeah, I'll expand on that a little bit. If you think about how AI has really exploded over the last few years, it's been driven by three things. First is the availability of massive amounts of data that you can manage with things like this data estate, with things like Azure Databricks, and so being able to control and manage data is really the first breakthrough. The second is around the amazing amount of computation that's available, both through the cloud and all of what Azure has to offer in the cloud, as well as with new hardware advances in the GPUs and FPGAs and things like that. And then the third thing has been new algorithms, mostly in the space of deep learning. And so you put those three together, and now you have really a tremendous explosion in the value you can get out of AI. And so data is absolutely essential. The other thing that we tell companies who are talking to us is, if you want to have lasting differentiation in your AI product, you got to start with some differentiated data, because the other things are easier for your competitors to replicate, but differentiated data is something that's really hard to touch and makes a nice moat for it.
Yeah, I think one of the things sometimes I hear from customers is they say things like, oh, I've got data everywhere, this AI stuff seems a bit far away from me. Actually, we just like to see joined up data. And so my thinking of that's exactly where SQL Server 2019 is coming in. It's breaking down those business silos so people can look horizontally across their data instead of just vertically. So I wondered if you had any thoughts on how people might get started if they're feeling a bit deflated and maybe on the other side of the early adopter curve.
In terms of how they can sort of really get at AI easier.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that we've really been focused on is, bringing AI to every developer. There are a range of developers that we see, the really sophisticated data scientists, and for that, we have distributed computation that you can do on a cluster of GPUs in Azure, really powerful things. But we see a lot of people who are much more data analysts, people who are really deep, specialized experts in the data, but they don't know machine learning. And so what are the things that we can do to simplify the process for them? We have a rich set of cognitive services that they can sort of tap into, that they can customize with their own data. And then, as I mentioned before, automated machine learning, which makes a lot of that process much easier and much more accessible to people, really wherever they fall on sort of their machine learning journey. So.
Oh, that's good. So it sounds like it isn't just hype, but it's actually for everyone, regardless of whether they're a pioneer in data science or someone who's just starting on that journey.
Yeah, there are a lot of companies who are still in the place where they think AI it's in the research lab. It's something that only these scientists in the ivory tower know how to do, and they're going to fall behind because their competitors are figuring out AI is transforming each and every business that every company has. We see it at Microsoft. Office has PowerPoint Designer. That's all powered by AI. All parts of Microsoft are now powered by AI. So if a company out there is still thinking that, no, this is ivory tower, it's not ready, they're going to be the last ones to the party, and their competitors are going to beat them.
Oh, great, gosh. Yes. Yeah, I think that's really important to note. I wondered what you think, Cathrine?
I was actually wondering a little bit about, you mentioned previously with Azure Databricks and some new announcements there. Can you tell us a little bit about how that ties into the whole story with data and AI?
No, absolutely. I mean, so Azure Databricks is a very critical part of what we call the modern data warehouse pattern, which I spoke a little bit about in my session yesterday. One of the things we're seeing is, as our customers are modernizing their analytics platform, if you will, they have some sort of an enterprise data warehouse. It's usually an appliance-based form factor that they have on premises, and just given the volume of growth of data and, as Eric mentioned, the kind of computation power they need for training the models, cloud becomes the obvious choice to sort of modernize the analytics workloads. So there, the way we sort of talk about it is the first step towards getting to AI, if you will, is breaking down the data silos, doing the data integration where you're able to connect to various like legacy systems, your CRM systems, your ERP systems, where you're getting data out of machines and IoT sensors, all that into some sort of a unified lake, right? And to do that, you need like a very highly scalable data integration pipeline, which is what we release through Azure Data Factory. And once you do that, then there's what we call the prep phase, where you're actually curating the data and sort of making it a little bit more meaningful to either serve for BI and analytics, or to train the models that you'd eventually use for scoring against in some sort of an operational system. So Databricks plays a pretty critical role in that pipeline and what we call the data prep phase, right, where Spark has become a extremely flexible and a popular language, or a paradigm, if you will, where you can use Python, you can use Scala, and you can just write a ton of code. The notebooks experience that Databricks has built is, I think, pretty impressive. I mean, I see a lot of customers are getting very attracted to that. And then the synergy that we've built, both between Databricks and SQL Data Warehouse, where we're basically building a lot of deep integration where you can prepare the data and then stream it directly into the warehouse and land it. That's sort of landing very well with all the improvements we've made. And some of the tie-ins that we've also done with Cosmos DB and Databricks for real-time applications, that's sort of resonating very well. So yeah, so all up, and then the improvements that Eric spoke about. Eric was the CEO. Ali Gotzi, I apologize, was the CEO of Databricks. So he spoke about about Delta coming, and they're releasing a preview of Delta, which is a major step forward in their journey. We're super excited about that.
So you're really bringing together new capabilities, new technologies to find new ways for customers to get insights.
Absolutely,
from the data.
and then and then all your regular tooling, whether it's the AI platform that Eric's team is building, or when you think about Power BI and the data warehouse for your regular BI and analytics, all that just plugs in really well.
Great. And then the other thing outside of data and AI is open source. Microsoft has been, a huge contributor to the open source community. Can both of you tell us a little bit about how does that work with the data and AI space, and how do you work with the open source communities?
Yeah, you want to go first?
You go.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. I always sort of joke about this, so we've made a huge bet on open source, right? And I think if you take a look at examples where now we have Postgres and MySQL, and now MariaDB in preview is native services that we have in Azure. If you take a look at a lot of the technical investments that we're doing, we're sort of trying to build products in a way which doesn't just accrue towards SQL, right? If you take a look at with I think Postgres and MySQL, we announced new capabilities for threat detection, for performance insights. A lot of these existed, built for SQL DB, Azure SQL database. And then, the way we are sort of looking at it is, like I said, foundationally, how we start re-architecting things, because communities are already formed, right? There's a huge community of developers who are around SQL. Similarly, there's a big community of OSS developers which, use MySQL, Postgres. And for us in Azure, as being an open platform, it's not really about trying to change their mind anymore. It's about actually meeting the developers where they are. Like, if you love SQL Server, it'll be the best place. Azure will be the best place for you to run, and the investments we're making in SQL 19. If you love Postgres, we will make Azure the best place in the world to run a Postgres app. The same thing with MySQL, the same thing with MariaDB. And in terms of the engagement, for us, it's not just about taking these databases and hosting them in Azure. For us, a lot of it is really about partnering with the community, especially in the case of Postgres. I've personally gone to the conferences multiple times, spoken at their conferences, and just engaged with the community very deeply, because we've learned a ton from those database engines itself, where we believe we can add value, and we've learned things that when I think about the extensibility model that Postgres has, which is actually very capable. Right, what can we learn from that? So overall, I do believe this partnership has really helped us make both the products better.
Yeah, on the AI side, AI fundamentally doesn't exist without open source, right? Like, all of the major frameworks, from TensorFlow to PyTorch, they're all open sourced. All of the major efforts have been open sourced, and so companies, when they are looking for something that they're going to work with, are generally insisting that it be open sourced. And that's something that we've been at Microsoft really committed to, is we think the acceleration that we've seen because everything is open and open sourced has really propelled the AI industry really quickly. And so we're really excited about that, and it's something that we continue to sort of push on. There's some places that are looking to lock you into a particular technology or a particular piece of hardware or something. And what we're doing is all of our customers come to us and say, I already have what I want, can I run it here? And yes, you can. You can run all of the major frameworks. We've also partnered across the industry. Some of the work we've done with Facebook, with Amazon, NVIDIA, and others in creating Onyx and open sourced, open exchange, how you can take one framework from one format and convert it into the other, really trying to make sure that the AI space stays open. We think that's going to be super important to us going forward.
That sounds good. I wondered if you'd like to tell us a bit more about the Facebook item that we saw yesterday. I thought that was really interesting.
Sure. So we've had a long partnership with Facebook, and I touched a little bit on it. The two places we're sort of most engaged with them are on Onyx, which is an open neural network exchange. It's a format where you can take a model written in PyTorch or in TensorFlow or in MXNet or CNTK or any of the different frameworks and convert it into one of the others. And so that's very useful, but even more useful than that is the hardware manufacturers now have a single thing that they need to go target to optimize. It really grew out of a problem that we had internally where my team was supporting all the different teams at Microsoft who were using every different framework out there, and they're asking us, well, my framework needs to be really optimized. And Facebook had the exact same problem. Their researchers were using PyTorch and their production was in Caffe 2, and how could they make that work? And so Amazon had this problem, so we all kind of came together on that. And increasingly, the place that we're focused and working a lot together is on PyTorch. That framework is really easy to use and has gotten tremendous adoption from the community really over the last few months. And so we're really focused on making it supported all across Microsoft through, Azure Notebooks, through Azure Machine Learning, through, Visual Studio Code, all the different places. PyTorch is going to be very natively supported there. So those are the two places that we're really collaborating. It's a great partnership. They see AI very much the same way we do. They have massive AI workloads. We have massive AI workloads. So we are aligned on a lot of things there.
Oh, that sounds great. So it really sounds like you're doing everything internally and then rolling everything out so the customers can enjoy the same privileges of using the technology.
Absolutely. We've learned a ton at Microsoft because, as I said, AI is, all across the company. Bing can't exist without AI. Office, Windows, Exchange, like all these different groups now have massive AI projects that they're running, and we've learned a ton in building the infrastructure for that and in developing those. And so we're bringing all those learnings and packaging it together into Azure Machine Learning, a rich set of services that they can go use, a powerful platform on Azure that's been hardened and battle tested with all of our internal platforms.
Oh, that's great. Sounds like such an exciting time to be in data, and I really wish I could redo my whole career again so I could see what's going to happen in the future.
It's moving so fast, it's definitely not too late. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, that's it. So I wondered if you had any more thoughts, Cathrine, on
So I'm thinking, can each of you kind of summarize the key takeaways or the biggest announcements, what you're excited about here coming out of Microsoft Ignite?
For me, I think, of course, I'm very, very excited about all the data announcements, that we spoke about, and I think all the work that's coming out of, Eric's team is fantastic. I mean, the open data stuff that I think Microsoft, Adobe, and SAP announced is really exciting. I mean, that, if you think about, the data silos piece that we spoke about, I think a lot of these, you have customers who have multiple deployments, right? And the fact that with this initiative now, they can basically have a free exchange of information across their systems where, create that in the modern data platform and leverage AI to sort of gain a lot more insight into the data they already have, I think is going to be a fantastic experience for the customers. So I'm really excited about that piece. Outside, of course, I'm super excited about all the data stuff too, but that's number two.
Yeah, I'd probably echo. I think a lot of the AI work we're doing is really exciting. The automated machine learning, the ability to use FPGAs on a whole bunch more models to really accelerate the work that you're doing and your inferencing. I think there's a lot of great things there. But Rohan stole my thunder. I was going to say the same thing. I think the open data initiative is really pretty great. Data is so critical to AI, and so making it easier for people to gather data in one place and to share data across all the different silos, it just really opens up a ton of opportunities in AI where you can now build models faster and easier because you're not spending all your time trying to copy the data from one place to another and get it in a center, or even just find it, data that you don't even have access to. So I think it's going to be really powerful.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, thank you so much both for your time. It's been my absolute pleasure to speak with you. So I guess that's us from the team. So thank you for your time today. It's been my absolute pleasure to speak to you.
Thanks
and
for
thank
having
you,
us.
Cathrine, as well.
Yeah,
for
thanks
your
for
time
having
today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time,
and
too.
we hope that you enjoy the rest of the week at Ignite.
Oh, thank
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.